I'd probably remove you from my salon, Carl. I'd probably go, you're not the coach for me. I don't know.
My name's Carl Hinder, and you're listening to the Salon Help Good to Go podcast, the podcast for salon, spa, and clinic owners who want to grow with more structure, more confidence, and better results. Episode 51 with Sue Davis. This episode was so good that we decided to split the podcast over two sessions, so episode 51 and 52 if you want to catch the full podcast. You'll also hear me talking about a booklet, which is if you offer nails in your salon, you're probably working too hard for too little. You can catch that link in the show notes. Okay, let's get started. Okay then, guys, welcome to the Salon Help Good to Go podcast with my special guest, Sue Davis. Now, this week, guys, before we start, I'm going to show you what's heading your way. Hopefully, this will end up on your screen. There we go. If you offer nails in your salon, you're probably working too hard for too little. Now, this little booklet will be coming out and is available to you about the time of this podcast. You might have seen it over the last few days. But Sue is kind of an expert in our industry, and I wanted to get a perspective on it. Now, this perspective that I've written it from is from my coaching perspective with hundreds and hundreds of salons, something that I see every day and every week. It's probably born out of a little bit of ambition for you or a bit of frustration that you could do better because I hate you guys working hard and not making any money. So keep your eye open for this. You'll be able to hit the link. It'll be in the notes as well, in the podcast notes. So if you haven't seen it, you can get it anytime after Sue and I have finished talking about it. Now let's get that off the screen. Let's get that all removed. And we can dive into this. Sue, while I get organized, do you want to tell them who you are, why you're here, and why you're so amazing?
Hello. So I'm Sue Davies, and you can see I've actually got, I don't know if I've got the right title on my my screen today, because I don't know that I'm here. I'm not really here representing Salonpreneur magazine. I'm here representing probably nearly 25 years of experience in the nail industry.
You can have any title you want. I don't think the screen's big enough for a proper title.
I know, right? It just goes on and on and on. But over the years, I've been very, very involved in the nail industry. I've organised national nail competitions and I've judged those. I've also judged many a nail, like professional business awards. I have also been involved in 3 different nail industry associations, the Association of Nail Techs, the Nail Industry Association, and more recently, the Federation of Nail Professionals. So I've got quite a big history in being quite involved in the nail sector. I've also helped write national occupational standards, which have quite a big view on the fact that they still aren't even out there. That's another whole story. But basically, I'm no longer actually enacting. I don't actually provide nail services any longer. But the history in my head of what this industry has been for over the last 25 years is real and is experienced and is genuine. And so, yeah. And Carl put something on Facebook a little while ago, and I was just like, "Oh, hang on, Carl.
Well, come on,
put my 2 pennies worth in." And we just thought it'd be an interesting conversation, didn't you, really, Carl? Just to kind of underline what you're saying and give a bit of perspective as to why we're where we're at.
Well, you know me, there's no point putting a post up that's all placid. We may as well get talking. Because I think as long as the intention of any post, certainly from people in our position in the industry where we have influence over people or we're coaching people, the intention is for them to make changes to be better and be more successful. It comes from a good place, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I don't have the nail experience you do. My nail experience is either as a coach or a salon owner where we had nails in our salons. That was quite a time ago. And things have changed an awful lot. But the frustration now is that salon owners in many, many salons, and I'm estimating from my personal experience that around 80% of nail-based salons are not making enough money and in way, way, way too many cases making a loss on that nail service. And it's making the other parts of the business having to work so much harder.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, look, why don't we analyze this? Now, the booklet is really for the salon owners. When I say salon owners, by the way, anyone doing nails who's the decision maker. So if you're a salon, spa, or clinic owner, because lots of those do nails, if you're freelance, if you're renting a room, renting a table, this is something you need to get your head around. But there's two areas here that I'm concerned about. One is we're doing the nails often at a loss, and secondly, we we're in denial about it. Okay,
Mm.
so let's open this up, right? Let's start. Um, let's see if you agree with me to start with. Do you see the nail business being detrimental in financially now, not as a wonderful service to clients, in some of the businesses that you've been associated with?
Absolutely. And so I'm trying to get used to. I've got a weird string thing on my glasses. I'm trying to get used to having it. But definitely, nails can be a massive holdback in a business because there's been so many changes over the years, and nails is a service that has not kept current with prices. People have fought to the bottom for pricing. And so it makes it very, very difficult to make money from it without seeming like you're really expensive, when in actual fact, what seems expensive is actually the price it should be. And if you aren't charging prices that it should be, which for gel nails is in excess of £30, even if you're working from home, that's the minimum of what it should be, in my belief. And if you're working in a premises, you should be looking probably upwards of 40. And if you're offering acrylic nails still, which obviously I'm still a bit of an acrylic person, I love it.
Yeah.
But if you're offering acrylic nails, when I closed my salon in when I sold my salon in 2021, I was charging around £50, £55 for a set of acrylics. So by now I'd be looking at 55 to 60. And if you aren't charging prices like that, then you're going to be operating at a loss, most likely, because by the time you put your overheads in, it just doesn't, the sums don't add up.
Well, the thing that strikes me really quickly, and it feels like I'm doing health checks on people, when I see anyone, even if they are freelance, to be honest with you, these days, when I see prices in salons in particular, which are the same or lower than I was charging 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? You know that things aren't right. When we
Yeah.
know that the minimum wage is £12 odd an hour, and a technician is only charging like say £25 for a set of nails, we know they are not getting value out of this, because by the time they've taken the wage out and the product out, and even if they're working at home, electric, water, gas, house insurance,
Washing.
mortgage, washing, all that, they're back to a loss. And this is the reality that I want people to have. Now, this doesn't happen with too many other services. It does happen. There are a scattering of services that you see in the hair and beauty industry, but this one, it should be the focal point, I think, for the industry. It
Yeah.
needs, I don't know, it kind of like needs a resurrection.
Yeah. And I think part of the wonder of nails is that it's like nowadays, particularly, it's an entry point into a business. And I think what's changed from when I can remember the first time I went and had my nails done, I went and had a set of acrylics done, probably about in 1985, in a nail salon that was in the basement of a hairdresser's, and the next nearest nail salon was about 8 miles away.
Yeah.
And I had to pay, and mark this figure, in 1985, which is 40 years ago, I was paying around £24 for that set of acrylics at Christmas, because it was the only time I could afford to get them done. And I didn't save up, I just got myself into debt probably to have them done, was how desperate I was to have nice nails for Christmas. And I paid £24 for those nails. And I couldn't afford to have them rebalanced, so I used to just pick them off in January. Really great. I wasn't a nail technician then, obviously.
Yeah.
We know better than that now. But that's what I paid.
Yeah.
And that was the equivalent of a good cut and blow dry. Now, if you look in today's value of what a good cut and blow dry is, and I'm sure you can probably give me a figure off the top of your head, but I'd estimate around about £60 to £70 in a good salon.
Spot on.
So why have nails not kept up with that? That's the question. And it's a much more labour intensive process. When back then, I was I can remember sitting there thinking, God, it's never going to end. 2.5 hours I was sat at her table.
Yeah.
But for £24 in 40 years ago,
Yeah,
that was a reasonable amount of money to be earning.
I think we've got you in part due, if we compare it to, say, I don't know, a hair or a laser treatment or even a massage or something.
Mm.
Think nails are highly desirable by
Yeah.
so many people at so many ages.
Yeah.
So it's, first of all, it's highly desirable. It's become super accessible, I should say, because of things like one-day courses. or even if you didn't ever did a course, even if you just nothing to do with professionals, you get a couple of
No.
girlfriends together, I'll do your nails, you do my nails, or mother and daughters, I'll do your nails. So it's always been there. And I
Yeah.
think we've kind of, I don't know, we've let that, merge, that's right, merge into the salon service.
Yeah.
So they used to doing them at home, buying some nails from a supermarket or from wholesalers. They can get them these days,
Mm.
and doing their version of them. So they're thinking
Yeah.
maybe the salons. Now, that's a kind of an area that I want to kind of talk to you about. Why then have we, or how have nail technicians ended up in salons, especially the ones that are decision makers? And I'm talking about salon owners,
Yeah.
table renters, that sort of stuff. How have they taken that price into the business when it shouldn't take you long to work out that it's not a real price?
No.
That
I
we
think we have an
what happened?
issue. We've got an issue where we've had so many, like the social media influence and the TV channel, in like, when we look at things like the Kardashians, and we then see social media influencers, and we are now beginning to see this going through some of the more skincare and more aesthetic areas, where, like, that the glass facial, and things like some of the aesthetic treatments, with all the fillers and the injectables and stuff. All of this stuff that used to be elite, exclusive, out of people's reach, it was luxury, has now become, by nature of the demand for it, has kind of become an entitled treatment that everybody believes they have the right to have, which obviously everyone does have the right to have it. But what's happened is come at the cost of the professional, because we then end up in this fight. Well, there's all these people want it done. I want to be the one to do all the people. So you end up with this sort of this competition, which we should have just gone, no, we're actually all just going to hold. We're going to hold. We're not going to drop our
Yeah.
prices. But what happens is, and we've seen this in nails with, like, the discount salons on the high street, that arrived in the sort of mid to late 90s, and that's kind of where the nail industry really started suffering. Because up until that point, by then, before I went to what I would refer to as a non-standard salon on the high street, that was the first one I went there, was probably around about 2000, and up until that point I was probably paying £37 for a set of acrylics. I can remember a friend of mine had these acrylics done, and I went to the non-standard salon and I paid £20, including nail art. I mean, I was like, my God, this is a bargain.
Yeah.
But obviously, before I trained, it's what actually led me to train, because there was a lot of reasons that led me to train after that. But I went there for a few months and then thought, I can do this. This is simple. So, but that whole thing of, like, where they came in and all of those salons arrived, they were undercutting massive. I mean, they were cutting prices in half. So, and then when you've got that and they're so busy and they're full up, the other salons were losing clients. What was the retaliation? They started dropping their prices.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that now again across some of the aesthetic stuff. Botox used to be, I mean, I'm not into that stuff, but it used to be, like, I don't know, £200 an area, and now it's like £200 for 6 areas.
Yeah.
I mean, they're ballpark figures. I have no idea if they're actually correct, but they're in my head from somewhere. But it's, the comparison is the same. And we've got this whole thing where a service that used to be a luxury is now an everyday service that everybody, rightly or wrongly, believes they should have the right to have on a daily, weekly, monthly, 6-monthly basis, whatever it is. And that demand has led to an influx of more businesses into the industry, again, from the one-day training, like you say, and particularly in nails. I know at points I've seen training where you can, in one day, learn how to do, not even learning how to do a manicure, which is the foundation to me, but you can go and learn how to do gel polish, acrylic, and hard gel in a day for about £45. Was the worst one I've ever seen. And
and I think that's the gateway.
You do that, the influx of businesses, in inverted commas, if you're listening, is just extreme. And we need to, so many of those businesses need to not be in the industry, because they are not necessarily professional, and they haven't taken their education as seriously as a professional would, and they're still banging services out, but they're not that interested in how the business operates and whether they're making profit.
Well, I think this is an extension of what we talked about when we did the Salonpreneur magazine discussion. So listen, guys, if you haven't listened to that session, go and listen to that session where I talked about not looking at your competition
Mm.
and believing that it's of a certain standard. So I think, see, this is what I'm trying to get at in this session is why are salons being taken in by the competition and trying to mimic something that, no, I'm going to give them some breathing space here. I think some salons look at those non-standard salons and say, well, look, they are successful. They're fully booked. They're really packed. Their reputation isn't that bad. We'll have some of that. But
Yeah.
we don't operate in a standard salon under the same rules and regulations.
No,
Do you know
because
what I mean?
because generally we follow the rules and regulations.
That's it, right? So we're following rules and regulations which are expensive, whether that's,
Yeah.
it could literally be the health and safety standards, it could be the minimum wage, it could be taxation, it could be any of those things, and
It
many
could be,
more, I'm
and
sure.
also, and I will highlight here as well, it could be a legal right to work. Many, and I've done a lot of work with modern slavery charity over the years, and many of our non-standard salons, and it isn't all of them. Some non-standard salons are legitimate and fine, but they just don't
Yep.
do the best job. But there are an element within the industry that use modern slaves, and therefore they have no staff overhead.
Yeah.
And that
But
in itself is a massive reason why they can charge a lot less than we do.
okay. But I think, you see, if we were to get a standard, you got me going now, standard,
I know.
non-standard.
Standard salons are nonsense. It's the most politically easy way of
Yeah, no,
referring.
I'm with it. Now, if we got a standard salon owner on you, see, I
Yeah.
think they would acknowledge a lot of that.
Mm.
Yeah, I think they would go, yeah, I agree with that, I agree with that, I agree with that. But yet you, not you, Sue, you, the
Mm.
salon owner, still then provide a nail service, try and compete on price with the
Yeah.
non-standard, which in the back of your head, because you're not daft, right? You know you can't compete because they do
No.
things differently to you, yet you still try and compete and you can't. And this is where I'm at, you see.
Mm.
I'm at this place where I'm working with professional salons, some of the best people in the UK and abroad, and they are fooling themselves that they can deliver a
Mm.
certain service or standard at a low price, wrecking their business. I'm help me out.
But okay, so I do believe that we literally can't compete, because we either need to pay ourselves a wage or we need to pay our staff a wage. And if you've got a business that doesn't do anything other than maybe put roof and board over your staff's heads, and you might give them a nominal amount of money to be able to buy toothpaste and deodorant or whatever, if you're in that circumstance and you are trying to compete against a business that doesn't pay their staff, you are not going to win, and your service is not going to provide for you what you need it to provide for you. We have to remember that, if you do a quality nail course, it's days. I mean, if you ideally go and take a regulated qualification so you can take it anywhere, work anywhere, and be insured anywhere. But we all know that they're not always the best education sometimes, and sometimes having a private education is better in nails, because you get someone that's still working at the coalface and understands the current set of standards better than FE. We'll go into that at another point. But you can't, you have trained, if you have got qualified staff that have done a good quality, reputable qualification from a good provider, you are already winning, because they are going to have knowledge that those other people don't have. They learn in some of those salons, it's osmosis. They learn through osmosis. And if you've been into them, and I did, and this is where I started in the nail industry, was going into those salons and just sitting, having my nails done. And I would invariably have at least 2, sometimes as many as 4 people work on my nails. And they do that as part of their learning pattern. So you have one person doing the prep. They're honing that craft. Then you move on to the person that's going to put your tips on. Then you move on to the person that's going to do your application of the product. Then you move on to the person that's going to file you, and so on. We don't do that because we've been trained. And that training comes at a cost. We have to continually develop our training and our education. And so all of those things add up. And you can't, just being insured. And if you're in London and some other parts of the country, you need to be licensed. And that license comes at a cost. And honestly, you
And look at those
can't.
business and the
Started in
business
so many
rates.
ways. My brain's just firing in all the ways that we do things the right way.
Yeah.
That comes at a cost, and those costs have to be paid for. And if you are looking at the clients that are in the non-standard salon that are sitting, they don't have to have an appointment, they can walk in, they only pay cash and all that stuff, are they really your client? And that to me is the key question. Are those people your client? Do you want clients that are happy to pay you 50 to 60 pounds for a set of acrylics, or do you want people that are happy to pay you 30 pounds for a set of acrylics? I know which one I choose, and I make sure my ideal client work is up to date and practical, and that's who I target, because they are there, they will pay, and that's how you need to remove the people from your business that do not want to pay what you are worth.
Okay, so I don't think anyone would be disagreeing with you. I can't imagine if you are, guys, comment in the podcast. I disagree with Sue or Carl for that matter. I don't, because it's really important that we advance this discussion, right? Because this is a big problem. It's so big, in my opinion, that I think the majority of traditional beauty style salons and some hair and beauty style salons, the combined ones, this is their Achilles heel. But I don't think any salon owner or many salon owners are going to be sat there thinking Sue's wrong about. They're all going, yeah, high business rates, high rent, high electric, high water, high gas, everything, but I'm sticking to this low price. Why are we stuck in this? No, I got lots of professional opinions. One of it's about ego. Having a really busy salon full of nails is really good for your ego, right? And sometimes it's not like ego as an egotistical, like it's my motivator, but it's your kind of job satisfaction. So there's that angle. Then, of course, we've got this thing about, I love my clients. Yeah, they love them so much that they put them before themselves. They put them before their families. So I think that's where it's born out of. Really, mainly kindness, maybe a bit of ego, the love of their client, the love of the industry, and they're still bloody skint. Do you see, any other angles than that? Why people are sat there smashing out 30, 40 quid nails at pretty much, probably 40, 50% lower than they should be.
Yeah. I think one of the things that comes up into my head when you're saying that, Carl, is fear. It's like a fear of upsetting the client base. And the difficulty is, of course, is that if you have clients that are used to paying, because you've kept your prices low, and you may not have had, and we know this happens so often, is that you do a price rise, you feel guilt, shame, and terror of what's going to happen. But clients weirdly don't object because they understand that businesses have to, they don't argue when Tesco's puts like 50p on a pack of butter. They just go, oh, it's that much. Okay, I better have that then. And if the hairdresser puts the fees up, it doesn't matter so much. But I think with nails, I don't know what it is. It is seen to be something that should be cheap, reasonably priced, because it's now just like a regular thing to have done. No, it isn't a luxury to anyone.
Yeah,
so
the client believes that, but do you think the salon owner believes the same? I think is that where we are at?
I think the salon owner doesn't want to upset the apple cart, and I think in the climate that we have at the moment, business wise, everything feels like you're treading on eggshells. And I think that at this point particularly, people are more fearful than ever of putting prices up because we know of everything that's going on around us at the moment that is unsettling everybody. Whether that's financial, global politics, whatever it is, everybody's feeling a little bit unsure. So if you start making somebody have to make a choice about your business, the fear that they're going to make a choice that's going to make them not be your client anymore, that may stop you from putting your prices up. And if you've had your prices at, £20 for a set of gel nails for the last 10 years, it's very difficult to suddenly jump to plus like £30 plus. It's got to be transitional.
Yeah.
But you've got to recognise that if you don't do this, you will not be in business. And the businesses that will get left will be the ones that charge £40, £50 for a set of acrylics, or £60 even for a set of acrylics, £30 plus for a set of gels. They'll be the ones that are left because they have got profit and they've got they've got room to manoeuvre. Whereas if you're charging £20 for a set of nails, you've got nowhere to go. other than
Yeah.
to close your business.
I didn't plan this question, so if I'm putting you on the spot,
No,
I'm
fine, go
sorry.
for it, Kat.
I'm sorry. But I want to take advantage of you in a way here. Um, I'm a coach, right?
Yeah.
And you're a salon owner, and you've been, salon owner, and you've got your little unit as well now. And I know, and I can usually tell within, I don't know, 10 minutes or something, that there's a certain part of your business, and we are talking about nails, and it is usually nails, that is making you a big loss.
Mhm,
Your ability to change that loss is very limited because,
mhm,
and we'll go back to the technical stuff in a moment, because I think everyone needs to look at all the opportunities. Price is the number one thing, and we know
mhm.
timings is the second one,
Yeah,
and obviously then overheads. But how do you feel, right? So Carl, this amazing business coach, comes into
yeah,
your business. He looks at the whole business and he says, okay, well, we'll do some tweaks here and some tweaks here, and you're making this quite a big loss here. But if we take out nails, not
mhm,
increase the prices, right? Not
yeah,
reduce, not the times. We'll obviously look at that first, always. But
yeah.
it's not within our capacity to make a profit. And I say to you, there's no way of making a profit out of this service. Let's take them out, do away with them, and let's use that space, that time, and that resource and make you a really good profit. Now, that's a bit I don't understand because I'm very businesslike. What sort of pangs does that give you as a salon owner?
It is
Like,
making me twitch, Carl. It's making me twitch. It, do you know, I do, and I do think it comes down to, so much of it comes down to, there is an emotional connection that you have as an nail tech with your client
yeah,
that goes beyond any other. And I've never done hair, but I have done nails, I've done beauty, so I've done everything through beauty, waxing, facials, brow waxing, whatever. Done all the beauty stuff, and I've also been a holistic therapist where I have my hands on someone's body for an hour. The connection you have as a nail technician to a client when you are sat, 2 foot face apart, you're holding their hands for usually upwards of 45 minutes, possibly up to a couple of hours. You are holding hands with them.
yeah,
They are sharing intimate details with you because people do. Mostly people do.
yeah,
You may be one of the. Like me, I'm always heart on my sleeve. So if my clients ask me a question, I'd answer it. Some people don't like behaving in that way, but for me, they were basically in my front room. Was how I always dealt with my business. And so when you have that connection and you mix that with not charging enough money, the boundaries are so blurred
yeah,
because you are literally in an intimate contact with that client in a far bigger way than, even I used to do a lot of Hollywood waxing, and it was more intimate providing a nail service than it was providing a Hollywood wax,
right,
which might sound a bit weird, but is so true. And it is true. And I think when you have that connection with a human, that they have, I used to have my clients that would say to me, they saw me more often, quite a lot of the time. They saw me more often than they saw their mum, their best friend. They'd be at my desk every 2 weeks. That was the rule. You want maybe 3 weeks at a push for some clients, but mostly my
yeah,
clients were fortnightly. And they would tell me things that they hadn't told their husband or their best friend.
yes,
And I think when you know that they impart that to you, the level of responsibility you feel towards that person is so extreme.
yeah,
And then they do things like dying, which is really ahead. Honestly, that really is upsetting when they die. But weirdly, over the years, I've had a couple of clients die, and it is always very traumatic.
yeah,
And the lovely thing is that their partners have come to me and they've phoned the salon. I had one of them actually came into the salon to tell me when I was mid-treatment with somebody else that his wife had died, which literally pulled the wool out, like the carpet out from underneath me. It was
yeah,
horrendous.
yeah,
But I think when you have that, and I don't know that you get this with many other services. I really don't think you do.
no,
And I think that connection makes it so hard to say, I'm going to charge you what I feel I'm worth. Because if you aren't doing it already, I was lucky. I learned very early on from the first commercial place I ever worked was you charge what you're worth. And I learned that very early on. And if
So,
you don't get that into you early,
yeah.
you charge cheap, and then you've got that connection, and then you can't let them down. Sorry, that was a really long answer.
No, it's fine. It's fine because this is we've got to think about when whenever we do any broadcast or any lives, how the audience are thinking. So
Yeah.
we have we have to how can you say, assimilate with the people who are listening
Mm.
now. So listen, guys, we do understand. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
You and I, between us, really, really understand all the
Mm.
emotions involved. I
Yeah.
understand the emotions and the finances, and so we do understand, guys. But we're trying to lead you to a path, because let's just go back to that question. What I said, I come into your business, I tell you, to get you from this number to this number, we got to change a few things. You got good foundations, but one of the key things you could do is remove nails from your business altogether. Now, I've actually done this twice in the last month, right? Both owners, in fairness to them, have agreed, and both owners have done nothing about it. Right? Okay. So I know where
They're
this is
just not
headed.
listening to you, Carl.
This is heading into a 12-month battle of trying of course, as our overall salon, we're going to increase their sales substantially, and all it's going to do is hide the problem of the nails, right? It's going to make it less of a problem whilst everyone else works their bleeding socks off. Now, I do think eventually these two will come. They don't know each other, by the way. They
Yeah.
they probably listen to this now thinking, I bet he's talking about me. But how does that make you feel? Do you think, Carl don't understand, or Carl's just an idiot, or do you think like he is right, but if I can just ignore him for 6 or 12 months, maybe he'd forget? How
I
does it
can turn it around.
how do I make you feel?
It as the now based salon owner that I was, I'd probably remove you from my salon, Carl. I'd probably go, you're not the coach for me.
So, guys, what did Sue Davis say in part 2? Did she stick with I'm not the coach for her? Well, this is a real cliffhanger, and you're going to have to join me in episode 52 to really, really find out. But don't forget, you've heard us talking about nails and how to make money and looking at profitability. Make sure that you go to the show notes now and you grab that information, you grab that link for the booklet when you join us for the second episode with Sue Davis. You're going to have all that information, and you can be ready for a lot more information, a lot more support, and a lot more fun. That's all for this week, and thank you for listening to the Salon Help Good to Go podcast. Please take a look in the show notes, leave a review, and let other salon, spa, and clinic owners know that I'm here every Sunday at 4 p.m. kickstarting your week. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next episode.